Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our third episode of the NETGEAR Virtual Event Series. I'm Angelo. I'm a Senior Interactive Media Specialist here at NETGEAR. I manage the NETGEAR YouTube channel, the Night Harbor Gaming Twitch channel, and I really have my hands across anything on our social channels. So if you've seen a graphic or some or seen anything go up on our socials, there's probably a chance I had my hands on it at some point. But before I go ahead and introduce this new event series, I want to pass it off to the rest of the team to go ahead and introduce themselves. So, Doug, you mind going first?
Sure. Hey, I'm Doug Cheung. I'm a product line manager responsible for the NETGEAR business brand wireless products.
Hi there, and I'm Bret DeCelle. I'm the Senior Brand Experience Manager for NETGEAR Business. So I help get our social content blogs for basically switches and wireless and things like that, including the AirBridge. Excited to be here.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here too. I wanted to shout out a couple people in the chat. Vanessa Kitty, M-Dog, and we also got a couple new folks in the chat. We got Ilian from Albania, but M-Dog, yes, I am everywhere. So this is the virtual event series. This is a show that we do every Tuesday from 12 p.m. Pacific time to 1 p.m. Pacific time. But if you're a fan of the show or you're a fan of seeing me on the show, whatever, we also do Friday tech support streams. So if you guys have any, questions or you want live support on stream, we do that for 2 hours, 12 p.m. Pacific time to 2 p.m. Pacific time on the NETGEAR YouTube channel. So we really got a lot of cool content in store for you guys. But today we're going to talk about AirBridge. So also, just before we start getting a deep dive into the product, what I wanted to do is tell you a little bit about the virtual event series. So this is a little bit different than kind of what we usually do. Kind of what I mentioned, we do these tech support streams every Friday. So for the virtual event series, essentially what we wanted to do is bring the trade show to you. So, obviously we're at home. We've been sheltered in place for a few months now. But as a result, we're not able to do the same trade shows that we usually do every year. And a lot of them actually take place during the summer. So what we wanted to do is essentially bring that trade show experience right to you, right to your screen. So no matter where you are, even if you don't have tickets to, some of the big trade shows that we do, we're usually at CES, Mobile World Congress, et cetera, we wanted to bring that same experience, but virtually. So essentially what we wanted to do was recreate that trade show booth and do that in a series of videos, a series of these interactive streams. So again, if you have any questions whatsoever about anything that we're talking about, drop it in the chat, and then we'll be able to answer them throughout the show. But awesome, we got a couple more people. We got Kurt from Switzerland, and we got Jefferson from New York City. So we're really everywhere. We're here.
You know Kurt, we see him in our forums all the time.
Oh, awesome! It's really cool to see the community coming out here, And again, this is something that we're going to keep on doing. So as long as you guys are here, we're going to keep on doing these shows. But awesome. So, Doug, we got a lot of really cool stuff in store for what we got going on today. So could you tell us a little bit about AirBridge and what we're going to be showing off?
Yeah, sure. AirBridge is a product that we launched this year, I think around March timeframe. There's a lot of technology packed into it, but if you just, make it simple, make it really easy to understand, literally it's just a virtual wire. What we're trying to do is to extend your network coverage or your network range by a mile, right? That Ethernet, Wi-Fi, they all have a pretty, definitive kind of a range to deal with. And oftentimes people need, longer distance connecting one point to another. This product, simply put, is just that virtual wire that connects, one point to another point.
Awesome. So before we take a deep dive, I wanted to throw up a little introduction video, and then that's going to give us a little bit more information about AirBridge and something that's a little bit more visual, so you're not just kind of talking to us trying to explain it. So I'm going to go ahead and roll that.
Wired and wireless connectivity can be a real challenge over large distances. And many times, running cables outdoors is just not a sensible option. Enter the new NETGEAR Insight Instant Wireless AirBridge, a point-to-point wireless bridge solution for long-distance outdoor Wi-Fi coverage up to 9,000 feet, featuring instant local or remote management for easy installation and maintenance. At a distance of 500 feet, the NETGEAR AirBridge delivers great speeds up to 500 megabits per second and supports the latest 5 GHz 802.11 AC Wi-Fi technology. Plus, more than just enabling a point-to-point network, the AirBridge also allows point-to-multipoint network expansion from the master site to one or more satellite sites, the ideal solution for outdoor Wi-Fi expansion for a large campus, campground, or even outdoor IP cameras for home or business security.
All right, we're back. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed it, and we hope that you're able to, learn a little bit more about what we're going to be talking about today. So, we want to really kind of start talking about the tech specs and really the technology involved and the use cases here. So, Doug, and actually Bret too, if you have any information to share, to anyone who's here, maybe new to the show, what's the simplest way we could kind of describe AirBridge and kind of what sets it apart from really anything else on our portfolio?
Shall I take a crack on it? Okay, I'll lead. So AirBridge is based on standard Wi-Fi technology. Okay, so that's important. The fundamentals, the basics is that it's based on standard Wi-Fi technology. So it's not some exotic stuff. Based on that, NETGEAR has implemented a technology on this standard hardware platform to enable a range of up to 9,000 feet. So that's the difference between this AirBridge product from a standard Wi-Fi product. A standard Wi-Fi product is typically with a good throughput. You're talking about 25 feet or, actually 100 feet or 25, 30 meter. I noticed that we have some international audience here. Thank you. So meter-wise, it's about 30 meter, and then English system, 100 feet. And beyond that range, you start to see some attenuation, right? Some throughput degradation. Ethernet is more definitive, right? IEEE standard and the implementation, all the silicon and all this stuff gives you, 1 gig, 10 gig, whatever that throughput is, up to 100 meter. Beyond 100 meter, the vendors will not support that distance anymore, right? I mean, of course, you can squeeze a couple more meters out of it. So there is that physical limitation to that medium, that technology. What AirBridge has done is to extend that range to up to 9,000 feet, which is 3,000 meter or so. But there's of course a trade-off, right? The physics does not change. So the trade-off is that it is a point-to-point line of sight communication, as opposed to Wi-Fi. It's point to many points, right? You know about MU-MIMO and all that stuff, right? OFDM. So in AirBridge, we do not support that MU-MIMO. It's a point-to-point or point-to-multipoint. When I say multipoint, it's really no more than 5 or 6, satellite points. And we'll get into the detail why I think that 5 and 6 is really the upper bound limit. Okay, so the trade-off is that it's point-to-point or point to small number of multipoint line of sight. Okay, it has to be line of sight. And then with that condition, it will give you, up to 9,000 feet or 3,000 meter of distance. Now, one set of number to remember, which will help, is that it's 500 megabits per second at 500 feet. Okay, about 260 meters or so. 500 megabits at 500 feet. So that is kind of the optimal range that I would recommend our customers to use, because 500 megabits per second, literally you're talking about, like Ethernet wire speed, right? That is the sweet spot. That is the most useful kind of throughput, for expanding your network.
Awesome.
So those are the technical fundamentals. I think we can talk about use cases, where it could be used and what other networking devices, components you can build around it. That's probably the more exciting part of the conversation.
Yeah, awesome. And then I think also what's exciting part of the conversation as well is that we actually filmed a demo reel actually back at the office. I mean, we did it a couple months ago, but we also did it a little bit safely, right? But again, this is the virtual event series, and we want to bring the trade show booth to you. So we're gonna really, and then we'll go into this demo reel in a second. But after this, we're gonna really start taking a deep dive into AirBridge and the best use cases that we could think of, and also hopefully a couple success stories of where we've implemented this kind of technology, and where we could kind of see it going within the next year, next 2 years. So if you guys are ready, let's go ahead and begin that trade show experience, and I'll start rolling that demo.
Hello, welcome to our virtual event series. We're so glad you're able to join us. I'm Doug Cheung. I'm a product line manager for NETGEAR Business Wireless Products. Today, I would like to show you a product that we just launched in 2020 called AirBridge, a point-to-point long-distance Wi-Fi device that is particularly useful for IP surveillance camera applications. You all know that copper Ethernet works at 100 meters and below. Beyond 100 meters, your bit error rate goes up, packets get dropped. Basically, no standard Ethernet vendors support beyond 100 meters. That is just the IEEE standard. Wi-Fi range, on the other hand, is not as rigorously defined in the IEEE standard because Wi-Fi range is greatly influenced by the kind of radio components you have in the system. But most commercial Wi-Fi products support up to 25 to 30 meters, about 100 feet. Beyond which point, the signal attenuation is so great that the throughput is down to a single-digit megabits per second to non-existent. So what if you want to put an IP surveillance camera across the field, or at the far end of your parking lot, or at the 3rd, the 6th, the 9th hole of your golf course? Is a LTE or 5G hotspot a solution? Not really, because that won't bring your surveillance video back to your NVR, which is on your main network. We came up with a pretty simple solution that is inexpensive, involves minimum amount of hardware change, and a one-time investment in money and time. Here's the solution, a pair of AirBridge, the WBC502. One unit, let's call it the master unit. It's connected to your main network through Ethernet. The second unit, let's call it the satellite unit, is connected to your satellite network through Ethernet. In between the two units, you can visualize it as having a virtual wire. This virtual wire has to be point-to-point, has to be line of sight, and it can reach as far as 9,000 feet. For the most effective use, we recommend that you keep the distance between the two units to be below 1,000 feet. Just remember two numbers, 500 megabits per second at 500 feet. Beyond that, you get a great increase in throughput. There you have it, the ability to connect a satellite site that is far beyond the reach of Ethernet and Wi-Fi. Who does this product benefit the most? I see a great use of this product among IT professionals who need to provide Wi-Fi service on golf courses, but no ground is to be disturbed, God forbid. I see a campground operator wanting to reach a few places that are separated by terrain. And most importantly, I see this product being used to connect a single IP surveillance camera far away from the main network. It is the most economical and reliable method of connecting an IP surveillance video stream to your main surveillance data network. For more information on the product and its applications, visit us at netgear.com/airbridge. Thank you very much for your time, and we're glad that you stopped by.
Awesome. Well, hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, this is something where we're trying to bring that trade show experience to you, and we'll be doing this for actually the rest of the summer. So we hope you guys enjoy that clip. But we actually got a question coming in from Kurt. So Doug, I'm gonna go ahead and kind of throw this at you right off the bat. Kurt's asking, for the curious customers, can we extend the Orbi or Orbi Pro, let's say, to a building away using a pair of AirBridges?
Yeah, good question. So I actually have a live example for you. One employee at our company, he is doing renovation. So his main house certainly has internet connection, right? So he has, I don't know, Comcast or something, cable coming to his house. But his house is currently under renovation. So he has a rental house across the street. So he says, well, I got cable coming to my main house. I got my Orbi Pro sitting there. And when I am living in the rental house for the next 3 months, I do not want to pay another $150, $200 for internet service. So what's my solution? So he took a pair of AirBridge, put one end to the Ethernet port of the Orbi Pro, and then have a line of sight connection across the street to his rental house and install the satellite unit of the AirBridge. And that AirBridge unit, the satellite unit, has a Ethernet port. And then he connects that Ethernet port to yet another Wi-Fi access point, like another Orbi Pro. That's how he does it. And so as a result, I mean, he's an employee. We do give them some discount, but he paid for that pair. I think, street price is only $230, right? So one-time payment for this pair, and you save, 3 months of internet service. And for this particular use case, of course, it's only 3 months. But, you could envision that as that you have an office across the street, and certainly you're not allowed to dig up the ground and put copper cable across, right? And then for Wi-Fi, it is a little too far. So the best way to connect the two offices across the street is to use this AirBridge. So to come back to your question, the core of your question is that can AirBridge work with Orbi Pro or Orbi? Absolutely. Now, in fact, it works with all networking equipment, Ethernet equipment, switches. You can plug the master unit of the AirBridge, the Ethernet cable, plug it into a switch port, and then the other side also plug it into a switch port or Ethernet port of a Wi-Fi access point or even Wi-Fi router. Then you have a whole different setup. Of course, Kurt, I'm sure I think I have discussed a few things with you in person, and I certainly have seen your name come across in many discussions. And you know that once you set a router on the satellite site, you're actually creating yet another network, right? With NAT, with its own IP, separated, network. So, you could have an office on the side rented to leased to someone else for a different company, or two offices belonging to the same company on the same network. So this AirBridge really operates at the layer 2 level, right? Layer 2. It's MAC address level. It does not do any IP address translation. It's MAC to MAC, literally just switching or packet forwarding, layer 2 functionality. Mm-hmm. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So Doug, just to be clear, the Orbi Pro is able to handle a wired backhaul. So there is that option in certain deployments, yep. And that's why it was possible, because of the wired backhaul. So this was like a virtual wire in the line of the backhaul. Is that right?
Right. Yeah.
I love it. A wireless wire.
Wireless wire. And, I think that's something, just to clarify is that, through a traditional deployment of AirBridge, they have to be line of sight. In this case, this one was a little bit different. You still had that wired backhaul?
No, this is definitely line of sight. So when you have like the examples I gave, the main house and the rental house across the street has to be line of sight. Mm-hmm. Across the office, that's a live example. I have a customer who has who wanted to have internet connection in the office across the street. In the main office, he has dedicated fiber. Okay, so this is not EPON, GPON, it's not shared. So it's dedicated fiber with multiple gigs of throughput. Okay, he needed the same thing on the satellite office, on the satellite site. So he went to the fiber service company and said, could I have that? Yeah, sure. We'll make it happen for you. But he kept on waiting and waiting and waiting. So at the end, he said, instead of paying for a very expensive yet another fat pipe, I could just do AirBridge across the street, right? Line of sight, just beam it over. So that was his solution, and it really worked out. And talking about use cases, I mean, right now we are at this, very strange time, right? COVID-19 and everything. Education is going to be a challenge. So like summer camp, right? Kids, they need to have a big space, right? Social distancing. They need space. Instead of sitting in a packed classroom, there will be, what I call pop-up classrooms, right? In the field here, a group of students, working together, and here's another group. So that's a great way to use this technology, right? To just send internet connection over across the field, right? To allow a group of students to have very fast internet, access while they're engaging in, education, classroom activities. So, pop-up classrooms, summer camp, for example, right? These are really good use cases for this technology, for this product.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And I do agree. I think especially in this kind of new, unprecedented kind of time, and even when you start bringing up all these different use cases, is that every customer is going to have a kind of a different situation. That's something that we've always learned from our tech support streams. But I think in the case of AirBridge, right, is that you could really get creative with these use cases and these different kind of deployments. You talk about K-12 schools or summer camps, or you could even talk about, hey, as long as you need to connect two sites, whether that's from a home to the office, like you mentioned in the first example, this is the same product for everyone.
Yeah, a lot of people have like an in-law unit or something, and maybe it's not right next to their house. You could theoretically send information over to that, even if you don't have any wires. So I really love some of those use cases.
Mm-hmm. And
like I think I'm only a few kilometers from my grandparents' house, and I'm thinking about trying to beam data to them, but I don't know if I could get line of sight. But I certainly want to give it a try.
And so we're talking about line of sight a lot, and I think that's a really I guess a big component of how AirBridge works. So I did wanted to address one comment from Samir. He's asking, what will the bandwidth be at 3,000 meters?
3,000? You will safely get at the least 100 megabits per second. 100 megabits per second, safely.
So, and then just...
Can you...
go ahead,
sorry, go on.
Oh,
I was just going to say, sorry, Zoom generally.
I know, right?
What kind of alignment do they need? How difficult is to align the two units together? That's what I'm curious about.
That's a great question. So I'm a total geek. So I'm an engineer. I'm a total geek. So let me get down to the technology first, and then we'll talk about the application. So there's always going to be a cone, right? Radio technology is, emitting, right? There's always going to be a dispersion of your radio wave. So it is due to the antenna design, we control how wide that dispersion is. So to us, it's a trade-off, right? If you make that cone, C-O-N-E, if you make that cone narrow, to Bret's point, it's hard to align the two units, okay? But if you make the cone really narrow, you can actually stretch that rubber band longer, right? Because you have a higher concentration of radio energy within that small cone. So you can actually go further. But then you have that alignment issue. So we took a kind of a very thoughtful process in our design to calibrate between range versus the ease of having that alignment. So currently our cone, it's 30 degree up, 30 degree down. So it's a 60 degree cone, which is pretty wide. So you will have a pretty good chance of getting the two units to talk to each other because of that 60 degree cone, right? So the trade-off is that we could have beamed even longer distance, but because we wanted to have a pretty high probability of linking up, we trade off the range. And good news to you, there are three, I hope I got it right, 3 LEDs on the back of the device that shows you the signal strength, a little bit of a help.
And then just to add one more, I guess, kind of degree of clarification. In that demo reel, you mentioned these pair of numbers that are really good to know. Could you remind us what that was? It was the amount of meters you could send out data.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So 500 feet, 500 megabit per second.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I created that through a sales training because you want it simple for the sales guys. So it was really a sales tool. 500 megabits for 500 feet. And I made a mistake earlier. It's not 266. I just looked it up. It's 166 meter equivalent.
166 meter equivalent. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, because I think there's a lot of really good stuff here, and you know, and I don't know if those were the same, those training slides that you mentioned. Are those the same ones that we're actually going to view today? Because you know, I could start going through that.
Yes.
You know, just so I could kind of, you know, get some visuals on the side here, because I know, you know, people obviously probably want to hear what we want to say. But yeah, whenever you're ready, we could start going through that. So what do we got here? Let me pull it up. Okay.
I'm gonna turn on my YouTube to see what you're showing.
So yeah. No worries. And again, we're doing this all live here. So as everyone here who's in the chat, you know, you guys all around the world, you know, I think we're all around here, you know, across the Bay Area in California, but we're running everything here wirelessly. You know, I'm running everything off of an REX 200 here at home, streaming literally with no Ethernet. So if I cut out, which I won't because I know my connection's good, you know, we're actually here powered by NETGEAR. So that's my little
Same here, powered by
spiel.
NETGEAR. I got an REX 200 right here.
Oh, we got matching routers.
Wireless to my laptop in the back room, Wi-Fi 6.
I hope the quality is good. If it's not, then you could yell at me because I'll be the cost. But you know,
I think I myself look fairly good. It's hard to tell on your screen.
Zoom, you know, it clears up my skin, and you know, you can't see all my imperfections. So you know, actually, I like this a little bit better. All right. So hey, Doug, these are some challenges here. This is the first thing that I see.
Okay, I see your screen. Yes.
And then just keep in mind, if you're watching it through YouTube, actually, there's going to be a little bit of lag, about 10-15 seconds. So just let me know when you know, you're ready for me to flip over. We got a comment coming in from Kurt. He's asking, Doug, can you put up some of these slides for download with the distance/numbers, please, along with AirBridge tech info?
Yeah, we can do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, do you see it?
You can keep rolling, right? I'm not directing you in terms
yeah.
of the PowerPoint.
Yeah. So I could go ahead and go to the solutions or the challenges here.
Yeah.
Just let me know which one to start off on, and I'll start here from the beginning.
So let's address maybe Kurt's question first.
Yeah. Well,
How do you want to do this?
oh yeah. So I'll go ahead and I'll be, let's say, in the control room. Again, we're doing this live, so I'm gonna have to kind of be that man in the control room. But I'll start off when you're ready, and then I'm just gonna let you know the first slide I see here is on the challenges, which is on this is for AirBridge when you want to expand a network across multiple buildings. You want to run Ethernet cords. And then when you're ready, I'll go ahead to the next slide, which is on the solution, which is AirBridge. So let me know which one you would rather start off on.
I'm going to stop watching the live YouTube because there's that lag. It makes the synchronization extremely difficult. So why don't you just keep on rolling? Just tell me what page you're on or roughly what's on it. I have it put up here, so I'll follow on the Zoom. Okay, I'll follow you through Zoom, not on YouTube.
Okay, no worries. So we got challenges first, and I think you guys got a little bit of that a little bit earlier on the stream. So again, AirBridge, this is your virtual wire when expanding a network across multiple buildings isn't an option. You can't be digging up copper wires underneath the ground, or you just really want long range connectivity, pretty much to just beam through that virtual wire. This is the product that solves it. So I'm here on the solutions. And again, I think you guys got a little bit of this information a little bit early in the stream. If you guys think that you want us to clarify anything, again, just drop it in the chat, or you could even get in touch with us after the event, because again, this is a virtual event. We would love to talk with you guys one-on-one to see if this is the right solution for you. But I'll go ahead and keep going. This is where AirBridge solves 3 problems. So Doug, I don't know if you're able to see that on your end, but we're going to be starting to talk about a little deeper dive on the modes and kind of the technology involved into the product.
So if I can interject here a little bit, on the marketing side of the product, we are 100% focusing on the long distance AirBridge function of the product, okay? And it's only in the user manual, in the deeper stuff, that we're exposing this outdoor access and client bridge modes. I think these are a little bit, because we just don't want to confuse the general audience here. But for the network professionals and enthusiasts, you understand what these are. And the product user interface actually allows you to configure the product into these different modes. They're strikingly different, right? Completely different from AirBridge. So for example, outdoor access point. It is just an access point. So it works like an access point. It supports multiple client devices like an access point. It's connected back to the network through an Ethernet cable. It does not require the second unit because it's a standalone access point, right? The third one, client bridge. What it does is that it takes Wi-Fi signal in and then bridge it to a Ethernet cable. So, in many years ago, you see that application where there's Wi-Fi going on in your house, and then you have a TV. Your TV does not have a Wi-Fi connection, but your TV has an Ethernet port. So what you do is put a bridge there and take Wi-Fi signal in and convert it into Ethernet and plug it into the TV. So of course, that's a 10-year ago kind of a scenario. Do we still have that kind of a environment? We do have that, right? So the primary use case to me, it is still that AirBridge, long distance mode. And I would, if I may, to emphasize one more point, that is long range versus long distance. Long range is something that we've been talking about in the Wi-Fi world for quite some time. Essentially what it means is that based on exactly the same technology, if I choose a slightly more powerful, what we call a line driver or receiver, higher quality with more sensitivity, or a better set of antenna, I get a little bit longer range. That's what it is, longer range on standard Wi-Fi. I'm trying to use a different word to denote that this is completely different. Therefore, I chose the word long distance as opposed to long range to describe the scenario where you are extending it way beyond standard Wi-Fi, even beyond what you can do with a better quality, what we call SEM, or a better set of antenna. So that's the difference between long distance and long range. You will hear long distance as a phrase used in this product quite often. And then the next point down is 11AC. It is important as a technologist as yourself, because you want to buy a product that's based on a very widely available technology. So, we build this based on merchant silicon, right? It's readily available. We're just adding NETGEAR secret sauce on top of it. So rest assured, this is not some exotic technology that is, cooked out of some, weird scientist lab. And then certainly the IP55 rating, that's important to you, because we advertise this product as a device that you use outdoor.
Awesome. And then
keep going.
All right. And then just before we we start continue taking a deep dive, I have one question for you, and then I'm gonna ask a question actually from the chat. So we got a comment in webcams del Pueblo, Mexico, asking for availability, price, and is it available nationwide, especially in Kansas?
Kansas, lovely, of course. We do have that available in Kansas. So the easiest way to get to is netgear.com. I think, Angelo, you have a page, right?
Yeah, I could actually flip it over here real quick.
Yeah, so that's the easiest place to find a product. For a pair of it, it's $239. So I mentioned earlier, you can do point-to-point and then point-to-multipoint, right? So the $239 is a pair. Later on, if you really have, the confidence that you can set up multiple satellite sites, you can buy a single unit from us as well to have, more, satellite sites. And also this product is available on Amazon. But one thing that I do recommend is to just buy the pair, okay? The product number is WBC502B2, bundle of 2 units. The reason I recommend that one is that it is pre-configured. So you actually don't need to even go into the UI and make the settings and everything. The 2 units themselves have already been configured as a master unit and a satellite unit, okay? We even put a little dot there to say M, that's the master unit, S as the satellite unit. As long as you kind of aim the 2 of them at each other with a good alignment, they will connect. They will set up all the the right behavior. So that's what I would recommend as a starting kit, right? The bundle of 2. Again, it's pre-configured. It's the easiest thing to do. And then for the more adventurous, you can add another unit by purchasing the single unit. And probably at this point, I want to also talk about why earlier I said I don't recommend more than 5 satellite units. The reason is fundamentals. The fundamental of this product is that it's line of sight. It requires dedicated connectivity or connection between the master unit and the satellite unit. So when you have 2 satellite units, let's say, when you have 2 satellite units, the communication operates on more like a TDMA, time multiplex division multi-access kind of protocol. What it means is that it will chop up the communication time equally between the multiple satellites. So when you have 2 units, you will have 50% bandwidth here, 50% bandwidth here. It's fixed. When you have a third unit, it will be 33%, 33%, 33%. So in that environment, if your third unit is actually not communicating, the other 2 units are still getting just 33%. We do not, because of the long distance requirement, it does not make sense to dynamically allocate bandwidth. It has to work that very certain way to have that reliability and the robustness. Think about it. Wind can blow, leaves can flow. There are a lot of uncertainty between those 2 lines. To maintain the connectivity to maintain that connection between 2 points, we do have some, certain requirements. So in that case, we chop up the time. It's time multiplexed, okay? In terms of, so when you have more than 5 units, the likelihood of wasting time, it's quite high, because when you have 5 units, oftentimes, 2 out of 5 units are actually quiet. So your other 3 units or other remaining 2 units that are active are getting very little bandwidth. I would not recommend that. For this kind of product, if you really have that many satellites, just buy another pair, right? It's not that expensive. It's $239. Let me give you a live example. You saw in my video, the whole reason I designed this product at the very beginning was to benefit IP surveillance camera, right? I wasn't even thinking about a guy having a rental house down the street. Even though this employee is quite important to me at the company, I think you probably understand the inside joke for the people from NETGEAR, right? Yeah, he's an important employee, but I can care less. I want to service all my other customers. So IP surveillance cameras are actually the best use cases or case for this technology, because oftentimes you have a camera that's out of reach, right, at the other end of your parking lot, just far away, right? So instead of laying a copper over, and you definitely do not want to have LTE there, or you don't want to have another internet service provider connection there. The reason is that all your IP cameras need to be on the same local area network. You all know that, right? All IP cameras need to be on the same local area network, because they all need to go home. That home is the VMS system, right? The virtual video management system, where they do the recording, they do the playback, they do all the management stuff. So all the IP cameras need to come to that VMS, the recorder, the playback device. Therefore, LTE, 5G, another internet service provider connection actually does not make sense, does not even work. So the only choice you have is to have a layer 2 connection. And AirBridge is that best layer 2 connection that you can give to that IP camera, right? So there are oftentimes you have more than 5 IP cameras around the campus, around the buildings and parking lots like that. So I would recommend that. And also the cameras are not all at the same place. So your 60-degree cone may not even cover all the 5, more than 5 cameras. So I would say, 5 really is the optimal number, upper limit. Beyond that, you want to have more pairs of AirBridge. And then talking about IP surveillance camera, remember, how Angelo was joking that, all his blemishes on his face is now, kind of, what's the word?
It's too high quality, right?
It's not. Yeah. So Zoom is a video encoding technology, right? IP surveillance camera is exactly that, right? So even though you have a 4K camera, because of the encoding technology, it highly compresses the video transmission, right? The packets. So instead of, in typical MPEG-4, let's say, H.264, 4K, you will run about, 20 to maybe, depending on the activity on the screen, you may actually have up to 30, 40 megabits per second. But when IP cameras are transmitting video packets, they actually have a much, much, much higher compression rate, very much like what Zoom is doing, because it assumes very little throughput, very little bandwidth available to them. So instead of very smooth kind of motion, instead of, every microsecond capture, they compress it, right? So it's a little bit jitter, but, as far as IP surveillance camera is concerned, that's fine. So from each IP surveillance camera, your throughput is actually no more than 2 megabits per second, even when you are talking about 4K. So with that as a kind of a background, as a foundation, this AirBridge can really support, 5 IP cameras as far as your eyes can see. So it is a great technology for IP surveillance camera. Mm-hmm. Really, I think, when I designed the product, that was my first thought, even before all the other applications.
Yeah, and you know what? Yeah, thank you, Doug. Actually, I have that video up. I think we'll probably play it maybe a little bit closer to the end, but it'll kind of like show off a little bit more visual of how this product was really designed for the IP surveillance, I guess, let's say industry or kind of deployments.
So I just saw in chat, Webcams Del Pueblo says it's perfect for their settings. We'd love to know what you think you would be using it for. If you want to post that in chat, we'd love to hear that. Thanks.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys because especially when we're getting into working with you guys as small businesses or really whatever kind of deployment you're looking for, is that this is when you get in touch with us. Again, we want to be able to listen to you guys, but also help you guys out as much as we possibly can, whether it's here through the virtual events and then you get in touch with us, we give you guys one-on-one help as to figuring out, hey, what's the right solution for you, to, let's say on Friday, you want to come in and then say, hey, I need help setting it up. We got you all covered for really, anything we got here. Only on the YouTube channel. That's my pitch again. Sorry, I keep doing that. Doug, I'm happy to keep on going through some of the slides we have here. I'm now on the independent modes. It's up to you on kind of how much you want to kind of take a deep dive into this, or if you want to keep going through. I know we're kind of last to our remaining 10 minutes, so I'll go at your pace.
Would you like to go to slide number 7?
All right, perfect. Next one. This is a point-to-point wireless bridge. Mode 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really illustrating how you would connect two office buildings. On the left-hand side, you are connected to the internet, but on the right-hand side, that building, you don't have internet connection. But if that building is within line of sight, and if you don't require fiber kind of speed, your broadband internet service is only what? Normally it's like 20 megabits per second on a good day, right? In the US, I think in Europe, you get a little bit more. You have more prevalent fiber to the home, fiber to the business. So you may get more, right? So instead of having yet another internet service provider to your second building, you can just use the AirBridge to connect the two. The important thing that I'm trying to demonstrate here is that in your second building, you can see that it actually goes to a switch, and that switch goes to multiple devices, right? So that's a whole network that you can establish. That switch could be your 8-port switch, depending on your, the size of your operation there. It could be 8-port, it could be 24-port. The 24-port switch can connect yet to another Wi-Fi access point, so that is entirely a whole local area network in the second building. So, if you look at this diagram, it illustrates the fact that AirBridge is no more than a virtual wire that gives you that very high-speed connection.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think this really shows off the use case where you could have, you got, I don't even know how many. This is just a little diagram, but I'm imagining you could have a full-fledged network where essentially you're able to beam that from, 9,000 feet away. It's able to sustain, or let's talk about capacity here. You're able to get these speeds, 500 megabits per second at 500 feet, a reach up to 9,000 feet. But how about that capacity? That's just kind of actually one of my questions here. How sophisticated of a network can you establish once you beam it out?
Okay, so capacity is a word that can be used in multiple ways, right? Mm-hmm. So first of all, if you think of capacity as just a bandwidth available in a single connection, so that capacity is equivalent. The word is equivalent to the word bandwidth. So the bandwidth is 500 megabits at 500 feet, right? And then it goes down a little bit over a longer range, longer distance. So that's capacity. But oftentimes, when it comes to Wi-Fi, capacity means the ability to handle number of devices. that's a new language. I only hear that in the past, 4 or 5 years. And the reason that you hear it even more often these days is because of Wi-Fi 6, right? I want to hold off talking about Wi-Fi 6. We'll talk about that. It's another great topic. I think we should have another live event, and I want to welcome all your audience to come back. What does Wi-Fi 6 mean to small and medium-sized business, and what NETGEAR does, right? So one of the things that Wi-Fi 6 talks about is capacity. So in that context, capacity means the ability to handle what number of client devices. Now, apply to a AirBridge, it's irrelevant because the capacity in that context is 1. It talks only to 1 device, which is the satellite AirBridge. Beyond that satellite unit, it can fan out to as many devices as the other access point will enable, right? If you see on this slide, behind the AirBridge, you actually need to connect to another Orbi Pro, for example, like Kurt suggested, right? Connect to an Orbi Pro, then the question that you should ask is, what's the capacity of that network? That network capacity is the capacity of Orbi Pro, right? Wow. So Orbi Pro can support 200 maximum users, and simultaneously, I think the number is, I think we advertise 40. So that's a very subjective number. That's why I don't have it memorized in my head. We advertise the number of simultaneous users. That's a number that we kind of gauge based on reasonable throughput, right? Because if you're talking about 4, 5, 10 megabits per second, we can support as many as 100 users. So when we say maximum concurrent users, that is based on a high and reasonable throughput. So that's the concept of capacity. So the network capacity at either the satellite site or the main site is a function of your Wi-Fi access point at that location. It's not limited or has no relation or relevance to the AirBridge itself.
That's good to know.
I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, and that was a really good explanation for me. Again, I do the show every Tuesday. I have to be an expert in Pro AV and AirBridge and and Mural and everything else. So if I could understand it, I hope you guys in the chat was able to understand that as well. Thank you, Doug. That was really good. We're down to our last 5 minutes actually. So I'd be happy to kind of keep on going through the slides. And I also invite everyone in the chat, this is your last chance. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, you got us for the next 5 minutes. You got essentially the masterminds, you got Doug, you got Bret, and actually this is, unless we have anything planned out, I don't think we have anything planned out for the next maybe couple months or so. So 5 minutes left, get your questions in. So, Doug, let me go here. So this is the scenario. I think we're still on the first mode talking about the commercial office, going from one building to another. I could stay on this scenario, or let me know if you still want me to keep on going.
By the way, go to slide number 6. Slide number 6. So one previous slide.
Mm-hmm. All right. I see 3 independent modes. This is slide number 6. Yep.
Yeah. So here we talked about the first one on the very left-hand side already, right? The one in the middle is the client bridge, right? So you got, say that you have a camera, and that camera has an Ethernet port, right? Again, your camera has one single Ethernet port, and the camera is well within the range of a standard Wi-Fi, okay, right outside of your house. What you do there is to connect the AirBridge to your Wi-Fi network. And then the AirBridge will convert that traffic to the Ethernet port and then goes to your camera. So this is what we call a client bridge. It's a single unit, right? Because all it takes is to receive regular Wi-Fi signal from your home or your office and then bridge it, right? Bridge is a technical term for layer 2 packet forwarding. So you just bridge it from a Wi-Fi medium to Ethernet medium at layer 2. right? So that's the second use case. The third use case on the far right hand side is that say that you have a parking lot in your business, or your swimming pool, your outdoor den that you want to support few devices, and they are a little bit outside of your home Wi-Fi range. So what you can do is plug or connect the AirBridge outside of your home in an outdoor setting, right? And then with Ethernet connection, connect back to your home network. And then now you have a outdoor access point, right? Because it's IP55, you can put it anywhere, outside. So again, if you look at that picture, it's a single unit, right? It's a single unit of AirBridge performing as an access point. So these are the various use cases, operating modes that are available in AirBridge. But if you look at our, advertisement, Amazon page, even our own, page, front and center, we always talk about point-to-point, long-distance AirBridge. That's the primary function of this device. I hope that is a little bit easier to explain, a little bit easier to understand. But then for people in the know, you can really use the product in many, many different ways.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I really love that we were able to end it on a high note. I know we're on our last minute. I'm going to play a game though. I call it Hot Fire because we have 2 questions left and we have a minute to answer them. Are you ready?
All right. Let's go.
All right. We got ex-Marine. He's asking, and there's no dumb questions on the show, so don't worry. But how can you power one of these if you don't have a power outlet?
It's powered by a it's powered by a power adapter, and that power adapter on the one hand is a wall jack, the other hand is an Ethernet cable, and that Ethernet cable can reach as far as 100 meters. So that's standard Ethernet. Okay, so that's how you power it in an outdoor environment when that outdoor environment does not give you a power outlet. So we have an adapter connected through a power over Ethernet, 100-meter connection.
Awesome. And then we're just at our 1 o'clock mark, but one more from Don Moore. Can you extend the master network to be virtually seamless to the satellite? Essentially asking about handoff between sites.
So at the network level, absolutely none. I mean, the latency, the lag, everything is extremely low. Okay, extremely low, because this is a virtual wire. It does not do any, it doesn't even do routing, right? So there's really, really no delay. It is just switching. But if your question pertains to roaming, you might be suggesting roaming. Then it's a different matter, right? So I hope that you don't fly from one place to another place 9,000 feet apart within 1 second. That you're a Superman. We cannot handle you. But if you're talking about just regular going from one, master site to another site, you will definitely be crossing between boundaries of Wi-Fi. On the master site, you're probably on Wi-Fi network SSID, home. And then when you go to the satellite site, it will most likely, depending on your network setup, most likely be on a different SSID Wi-Fi network. Most likely.
Okay. And then one more. I'm sorry, I said 2. There's one more that came from Steve Harris. I'm just going to end it on this one. The master, he's asking if the master has to be wired to the system and the satellite can be used simply with the router.
Okay, the master must be connected to the existing network by that Ethernet cable. Yes. Mm-hmm. On the satellite side, yes. The satellite unit must be connected to another networking device through an Ethernet cable. And that networking device could be a switch and could be another Wi-Fi access point, and it could be another router. And for the Europeans, a router.
Awesome. A router. So, we're a little bit over time. I know we got a whole day ahead of us, so, I don't want to take you guys on for too long, but I want to, Doug, Bret, thank you again for being guests on the show. We do these shows every Tuesday. We actually had Derek Fallberg. He was in the comments a little bit earlier. He's going to be on the show next week for talking about the M4300 specifically for IT. So stay tuned for that. And also, I saw one comment. We also do Friday tech support live streams. So for 2 hours, you got our attention to ask any questions whatsoever about your network, or if you have any issues, again, whatsoever, we'll be able to help you out to the best of our ability on that show. So Friday, 12 to 2, Tuesdays, 12 to 1. You can find that on the NETGEAR YouTube channel. I want to thank you guys again, everyone in the chat who asked those awesome questions. Thank you. I got a shout out from M-Dog. Yes, we will be continue doing these as long as you guys are in here. So one thing I ask for you guys in the chat, if you could just throw a like, that's going to help us be able to float these events to more and more people. We want to be able to kind of spread the word and really get this out to as many eyes as possible, because we want to hear from you guys, and we want to make sure that we're pushing out the best stuff and content that we can. I'm going to end it on the surveillance video. I know, Doug, you had a little tidbit. This is what you originally, this is one of your first, I guess, use cases for this product. So I'd love to end it on that note. But if there's anything else you would like to say, we'll go ahead and cut it off here.
I just want to thank everybody for coming to this live event. I think I will be doing more. Since I think a lot of the questions are really relevant. I mean, this really helps me as well as a product manager, as a product designer, right? Whatever you ask, I can hear why you ask that question. What's the implication? What's your use case? What do you like? What do you not like? What's important to you? So I think this is an important venue for both us communicating to you what the product does, as well as learn from you what you would like to see, the next generation product to be like. So thank you very much for coming. I hope that we'll do this more often.
Cool. All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, guys.
See you next time. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Outdoor connectivity to all of your IP cameras can be a challenge. Running cable in many cases is just not a practical option. Enter the NETGEAR Insight Instant Wireless AirBridge. With the ability to wirelessly extend your existing network outdoors or pair up with another AirBridge to extend your network by more than a mile. Utilizing the 5 GHz 802.11 AC Wi-Fi technology for high speed and great coverage. Designed to withstand harsh environment conditions, including prolonged exposure to sunlight, snow, rainfall, and humidity. The perfect solution for any smart home, restaurant, or business with outdoor security cameras and other smart devices. Plus, the AirBridge also supports a point-to-point or point-to-multipoint network wireless bridge solution for long-distance outdoor Wi-Fi coverage up to 9,000 feet.